Alright, now that we have random out of the way, actually let's go ahead and use it just one more time here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to the G column here, and we're going to put in basically a whole column of rands here. Alright, so we'll do rand, open, close, like that. And we're going to copy that all the way down. So now we have a whole bunch of them. Now, wouldn't it be nice to be able to find out what the largest value of them all is? Yeah, well, we have a command called max that we can use to do that. So I'm going to hit equals here and I'm going to put it in max. All right. And we're going to say we want to check all of the G column. So G1 colon G50. All right. So you get the whole thing in there. That shows us the largest value of all of those. So 993076. Actually, that's that one right there. All right. So if we have max, don't you think we might have a min as well? Yeah. So we'll do min. All right, equals min, open parenthesis, same thing, G1 colon G50. So there's our minimum value, so our minimum and maximum. Cool. All right. So min and max is pretty easy, right? Makes some sense. Now that we have that, let's talk about Boolean values. All right. So a Boolean value is either true or false. So it's either one of two states. There's no maybe. All right. So true or false, 1 or 0, the whole thing. Right. So if we try typing these in, let's go ahead and go right here. And I'm going to take it out of caps here. I'm going to type in true. All right. So normally words are left justified. So they sit on the left-hand side. And numbers are right justified. They sit on the right. Well, if I hit enter on true here, you'll notice that first thing, it's all caps, right? And it's centered. All right. So that's Excel saying, hey, this is a Boolean value. It's true. Okay. And of course we can do false as well. Doink. Just like that. So these are values just like any number value, but they're not like words, right? We see them as words because that's how it's written, but they are values. And how can we use these? Well, you've actually used these even in elementary school. All right. So if you remember greater than and less than, we use that all the time in programming. And in Excel. So of course we have greater than and less than. Now you might remember writing greater than or equal to with the greater than sign and an equal or a line under it. While we could enter that symbol in the computer, we can't typically do that with a standard keyboard very easily. But we have a better way of doing it. So we just use two characters. So if we want greater than or equal to, we just do the greater than sign and the equal sign. So that means greater than or equal to. All right. And we can do the less than or equal to the same way. Less than or equal to. All right. So that's showing less than or equal to. We can check to see if something's equal. The single equal sign. Outside of the first one, all right? And we'll get into that. And then, of course, the not equal, that's the less than, greater than sign, like that. That's how we represent not equal. All right, so let's use them. First one, let's go ahead and do greater than. So let's look at this random number right here. All right, we're going to see if this number is greater than 0.5, right? Right now, it is not. On yours, it may. All right. But right now, it's not. I'm going to hit enter, and it's probably going to recalculate something greater than 0.5. Oh, no, it didn't. Wow. Okay. So that greater than 0.5 is false, right? Because that's not greater than 0.5. All right, so we're going to control equals until it is. There we go. See, 0.6 is definitely greater than 0.5, and now it's true. All right, and of course we can go the other way. Equals, is this value less than 0.5? All right. So it's currently false because it is not less than 0.5. So I'll hit control equals again, and now it is, right? So most of the time, and by most I mean a very, very, very large amount of the time, those two are always going to be opposites, right? So it can't be greater than, it can't be not greater than and not less than too often, right? There's only one time that they can be both false, right? And that's when they're equal, right? So 0.5 will get us false on both. So we can even test that. So if we go up here and change this to 0.5, see, they're both false, right? So let me go ahead and undo that. And the only time that this next one will be true is when it is 0.5. So let's do that. So we're going to do equals this here is equal to 0.5. Right? So right now it's false, right? And if we run it a whole bunch of times, it's pretty much always going to say false, right? Unless we get really, really lucky, which probably not going to happen. So let's go ahead and set this to 0.5. See, now it's true. Cool. And then there's, of course, the last one equals, is this not equal to 0.5? Cool. So, what's really cool is, of course, that will be like that, and we can, of course, test this. Cool. All right, so those are kind of the greater than, less than. Those are those kind of operators. They're not the only kind of Boolean operators. All right, we have another set. We're only going to use two because they'll go into more later on with you. We have the AND operator. Oops, let me try that again. And what that does is it checks to see if everything that you give it is true. Right? It's the realist, right? Some people would call it the pessimist, but no, it's the realist. So here's how this works. So we'll do and inside of it, for it to give us back a true, everything has to be true. If anything's in there, it's like that one person that ruins it for everybody. So we'll do true. Oops. True. So we'll do a bunch of them here real quick. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. Let's go up here and copy this. Yes, we can work up here. So I'm going to copy this from there and then go back down here and paste a bunch of these in there. All right. So if they're all true, right, it comes back true. But if we take this, I'm going to copy this here and paste it over here, and we're going to modify it. So I'm going to go in here and change one of these trues to false. All right. And now the whole thing is false, right? Because just one of them wasn't true. So, and think about it like this. If you think of it in English form, right? So we go, is this true? And is this true? And is this true? And is this true? And is this true? Right? They all have to be true for it to work out. And then, of course, there's the optimist, right? We can use or. So if anything inside of or is true, then it becomes true. So we'll do that. So we'll do a bunch of falses here. So false, comma. And I'll go ahead and go up here and copy that. Control C. And I'll do a bunch up here because, all right. Close that out. All right, so they're all false, right? And I'll copy this. And we'll do the same thing that we did last time. We'll go in and set one of them to true this time. We'll go for this one right here. See? Now, it can be more than one, and it'll still mark it as true. So that's and or. There's exclusive or and all those, but worry about that later. All right, now that we have all of those, there is one more that I want you to think about. And this one's the kind of a little bit complicated, but it adds so much power. It adds so much power because it is what we call a branching statement. All right, so it interprets information and does work accordingly. All right, and that is called if. All right, if. So let's go ahead and fill this out. Let's go ahead and give this one a try. So we start with if, and we go open parentheses. Now, let's look at down here what it's telling us. First thing is our logical test, all right? So if, let's say this number here, so the one in L7, that our random number that we've been using, is greater than 0.5. I know, we've been using that a lot, but it makes life easy, right? So if it's greater than 0.5, we hit comma here. We'll do what's right here. All right. So value if true. All right. So we can do quote win. Oops. Win. There we go. All right. So that's what it will replace itself with if it's true. All right. We're going to hit comma here. And we'll do another one here. Quote, loss. Quote. All right, so this is the value if false. So if that ends up not being true. All right, we'll close that out. So it happens to be greater than 0.5, so we win. Let's run this a few times. Hey, there's a loss. Hey, it's 0.24. We did lose. Cool. All right. Actually, there are two more I want to show you after we get this. But, so what we've just done is we've used only one set here. So what I mean is we're only checking this, and then we're only printing something here. We could include other formulas in here. We can do other kinds of math. We don't have to print anything. We could just let it tell us true or false. We could do any number of things. But this is the quick and easy way. Now, if I were to do something else, like another formula in one of these, like if I were to add, these numbers if I won and these numbers if I lost, that's something called nesting, because we're putting other functionality inside of it. All right. So it is a time-tested thing to do. All right. It's called nesting. All right. And you're going to do that probably for some of the more complicated things. So keep that in mind. All right. So those other two that I was promising you here. So we have one called countif, a command called countif. All right, no space in there. So it's called countif. And what it will do, it combines count and if. All right. So let's do that. Countif. The first thing it's asking us is a range. So see, there's range. So the range is, where do we want to look? Let's go ahead and look at the G column. So I'm going to do G1 colon G50. Okay. Oops. So this is actually Excel telling me I've made a mistake. You've entered too few arguments for this function. An argument or a parameter. This is also a name for parameters. All right, so let's go ahead and add the next part in here. So I'm going to hit comma. And what are we counting? All right, so we want to find out, again, what is greater than 0.5. We want to count the number of entries that are greater than 0.5. So here's how we do that. So we're going to put in a quote here, and we'll do greater than 0.5. All right, end quote. All right, I do that because it makes it think. It says this is what I want to do. All right. So I'm going to hit enter here, and it's going to count the number that are greater than 0.5. 24 are greater than 0.5. All right. So that's countif. Now the other one I want to show you here is sum if. So it combines sum and if. All right. Let's go ahead and do that. Sum if. All right. Now, this one can take up to 3 parameters. But it doesn't have to. All right. Its last parameter is optional. All right. So the first two are just like the previous one. It has a range. So we'll do that. G1 through G50. Okay. That's our range. Our criteria, what are we looking for? Greater than 0.5. All right. And we could stop here, and it would work fine. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to stop here. We can leave that last parameter off, and it'll work just fine. So what it's going to do, it's going to add and place the sum here of every single one that's greater than 0.5. All right. So this number here should be less than, oh, I didn't add all those. Okay, yeah, well, we'll do that. So 21.422, yeah, 44268, right? So that's the sum of all the ones that are greater than 0.5. Now, I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it. Actually, I'm going to copy the values here. Or the text itself, and I didn't mean to do that. So you notice here what I did. All right, so I had all that highlighted, and I clicked over here. What it did was it erased what I just did. All right, and filled in M18. That's not what I want. All right, so I have a choice here. Either I can erase it and retype what I did, but forget that. I could hit escape, or I could hit this X up here, this cancel button. All right. So if I hit this, it's going to forget whatever I just typed. All right. So I'm going to try that again. I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to hit Control C to copy it. All right. And I'm going to hit escape because I don't want to make any changes there. And I'm going to paste this here. Boink. Okay. So these two have the same thing. So let's go ahead and modify it. All right. Let's put in the last parameter here. So I'm going to put a comma here. All right. And the sum range, instead of adding these numbers, we could add another set of numbers. Let's say these numbers or these over here. All right. So let's do F1 through F50. Now they need to have the same area, but yeah. So I'm going to hit enter on here. And now we've added these numbers here instead. So if this number is greater than 0.5, it will add this number. If it's not, it'll leave it alone. So and this one got added, this one got added, this one, these here. But you see what we're doing on that? Okay. Now, we've done all that. It's pretty cool. We have a few. There's one more thing I want to show you. And it's not actually with formulas. All right. So let's say I have something here, right? I've got this, right? And let's say I want to go down to 100. Now, I could just drag that down. And the funny thing is that's not very happy at working like that because we've already got that going on. You know what? Let's go ahead and add another sheet here, right? All right, so I've just added another sheet. And let me go ahead and zoom in on this. And we'll do some stuff here that makes, that works this out here. So I'm going to add in a ran between here. All right. And I'm going to simulate a coin flip. So we're going to do 0, 1. All right, so there's a coin flip. Let's say heads equals, or 1 is heads and 0 is tails. So we'll do a few of those here. All right. Now, let's say I want to do a whole bunch of these, right? I could just drag this down like I was showing earlier, right? And that would work fine. But what if I wanted to do a whole bunch of them? All right. So here is what we would do. All right. We're going to go in here and we're going to go up to this little box here. And whatever we type in here, it highlights, right? So I'm going to do A1 colon J1. Or not J1. I'm going to do J, let's say 100. All right. So that's going to highlight all of those. All right. And what that'll give us is the ability to do this. So I'm going to go down here, over here where it says fill. All right. So if you look for it, you'll find auto sum, and right below it is fill. All right. So I'm going to choose fill, and I'm going to choose down. All right. And it has now filled all of that in, just like that. It works for formulas and anything that you're doing, any calculations. It'll bring that down as well. And you can do a lot more than just that. All right. So yeah, that's that. One other thing I want to show you is we can also reference between these sheets here. So these different sheets allow us to choose which one we want and go in, and we can even rename this like this. The second sheet. All right. Oop. Yeah, because I have caps lock on. Yeah. There we go. And here, watch this. We can reference between the two. All right, so I'm going to go up here. And I'm going to put an equal sign here. All right. And I want to pull data from this one right here. Let's say I want to pull whatever value is right here. So I can just click on that. All right. And it's already filled it on the other one. We can actually see it up here. So it's equals single quote, the name of the sheet in single quote, exclamation point, and then the cell number. And if we go ahead and hit enter on that, it will copy it over. So right now there is a 0 there, right? There's a 0 here, and we can look and actually see the value here. And of course, if we recalculate it, now it's 1. It will copy that over as well. All right. So so far I've shown you everything here in Excel. Now, Google Sheets isn't that much different. There are a few little minor differences that you're going to have to worry about. All right. So I have Google Sheets here. Let me go ahead and bring up a blank one. All right. So this is Google Sheets. It has a lot of the same functionality as Excel does, with some minor things that are some people consider good, some kind of have a pain. So let me go ahead and jump back in here real quick, and let's go ahead and continue on here. All right, so some differences that we have. First of all, let's talk about limits. All right, so for Excel and Google Sheets, Google Sheets has a limit of 5 million cells. Now, a lot of times that's going to be just fine. All right, and you'll be able to work with that. But if you need more, Excel can do that for you at like 17 billion cells. All right, that's a lot of cells, right? 17 plus billion cells. You're not going to have an issue. Now, also to kind of go along with that, Excel tends to have a lot better performance because it doesn't have to send your work back and forth to actually work. So all that processing is happening on your own processor. Also, you don't need an internet connection to use Excel. All right. Now, some people seem to think that you can only collaborate on Google Sheets, and that used to be true for a while. If you don't mind using OneDrive, Excel can do it as well. All right. Also, one of the nice things is if you are using either one of those, you can work, say, on multiple machines. You can work on, like, say, your desktop at home or on a tablet and work off of that on both of these. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, that works out pretty well. So if you need heavy lifting, Excel is the way to go. All right, customizability. Excel has both shortcuts, assignable shortcuts, and macros. All right. Unfortunately, Sheets doesn't have shortcuts yet, but it does have macros. That's been actually something that was fairly recently added, so it's getting there. It's getting better. Now, if you're not like a super power user and Excel seems a little bit daunting, that's okay. So for really ease of use, we find that Sheets tends to be a little better because Excel can be just like, here's everything, and it can be kind of scary sometimes. So Sheets just shows what most people need to see. All right, so there's all of that. So use which one you feel more comfortable with, or what, obviously you're required to work with. Now, Excel requires a payment for it. You need to have Office for it. Just to keep in mind that while you're here at Full Sail, you do have a subscription to Office, so you can use that. There is also a web version of Excel. Now, one last thing that's not on here, and that's consistency. All right. The web versions tend not to be quite as consistent as Excel itself. If we're using Excel, we can depend on certain things, the way random works, and a few other things. So just keep those things in mind when you're working on them. All right? So there will be a few exercises that we have below this that I would like you to go ahead and attempt. All right? Attempt them. They're not too terribly bad. And if you need to, we will talk about them during the question and answer session. All right? So feel free to reach out if you need help on that. Check out Discord. Someone might have already answered the question for you. Yeah, and we'll go from there. Okay? So enjoy your use of Excel and Google Sheets because you're going to be using it a lot. All right? See you in the next lecture.